and was just a hot mess. And this was like I think in like October, you know, so it was like her first middle school fight. But it was just hilarious to me because like I worked there. I know.
Oh no. Well, I'm glad you won that fight, Lulu. But you know, sticks and stones. Kids are sometimes they say some of the craziest and meanest things, especially in junior high school. I've written things and names, all and stuff. You gotta have a thick skin, you know. But yeah, I'm glad you won the fight. All right, guys, we reached our 9 o'clock mark. Man, I want to thank each and every one of you for playing the games. We have a very special guest here, and before we bring him on, I want you guys to take a look at this.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
Officials found a passport belonging to one of the terrorists. That was apparently found a couple of blocks away because when one of the planes, or the first plane, slammed into the tower, you could see it on the video, in fact, debris flew out the other end. There's a belief that some of the cockpit just kept on going, and with that velocity went right through the building. Sources here on the ground had told me that they even found some body parts in the cockpit area. They believe that it is one of the terrorist bodies from the cockpit because the clothing does not match clothing of airline pilots.
Not far from here, a passerby found the passport of one of the hijackers.
In the rubble outside the World Trade Center towers, we are told rescue workers have recovered a passport and the debris. It belonged to one of the dead hijackers.
You have 210-story office buildings. You don't find a desk. You don't find a chair. You don't find a telephone, a computer. The biggest piece of a telephone I found was half of the keypad, and it was about this big. The building collapsed to dust.
It was revealed that the passport, stand by and listen to this, the passport of one of the suspected hijackers on that plane that flew into the towers was found blocks away from the World Trade Center crash site. Somehow the passport survived. Nobody else did, unfortunately. Also Saturday at a news conference, it was revealed that investigators, searchers, have found something of interest, the passport of one of the suspected hijackers. That passport somehow survived. Floating down from above, it was found some distance from the World Trade Center crash site itself.
A couple of blocks away from the World Trade Center site, apparently where that passport was found, the FBI announcing that it has found the passport of one of the hijackers who was on board one of those two planes that hit the Twin Towers.
The body of a man believed to be one of the terrorists was found in the cockpit ruins. That is because we're told he was dressed not in pilot's clothes, was not in a uniform of a commercial pilot, but some other clothes, so it could be a body of one of the terrorists. Also, some chilling news, a body of a flight attendant, also, I'm told, has apparently been recovered. The flight attendant's hands were bound in the back by a wire. That would then, of course, seem to indicate that the hijackers bound by wire the flight attendants with their hands behind their backs, which could provide one reason why they were not able or did not put up a fight and were basically relegated to one part of the plane.
Items found since the attack include a passport apparently belonging to one hijacker. There is new evidence of the fear on board the aircraft. Sources close to the investigation now say the remains of a second person have been found with their hands tied. Another pair of hands bound together were found earlier.
In fact, the passport for one of the hijackers was found some 3 or 4 blocks away. If you look at this, you wouldn't believe you could find anything.
The FBI tells NBC News it was some distance from Ground Zero that a civilian found a passport lying on the street belonging to one of the suspected hijackers.
Wow. Okay. All right. We're going to stop that presentation for a moment while I introduce our esteemed guest. Let me tell you a little bit about Glenn Zarminov, known as Glenn Z. He is one of the most controversial activists and filmmaker and a radio personality. Mr. Glenn Zarminov of WeAreChange, New York, is one of the premier voices in seeking the truth about one of the most tragic events in recent history. So I want to thank you for joining us, Glenn. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you just fine. And you know,
better light on or light off?
it's fine, just like it is right now. You're
Okay,
perfect. Right. I can see you perfectly.
Good.
I believe everyone else can see you perfectly. Thank you so much once again for joining the GoPro Radio Revolutionary Party. We played all the games in the beginning because I know that this is going to be a very powerful discussion, and I wanted to make sure that we had almost like the entire second half to talk with you.
If we go over, that's fine. I mean, I'm all yours.
Okay, fantastic. Let me ask you something though, right at the top. What's something that most people don't really know about 9/11 and perhaps should, even 19 years later?
Well, I mean, just that clip alone that you played, and thank you for the gracious introduction. My name is Glenn Zarminov. I'm a lifelong citizen of Jersey City, also an eyewitness to the 9/11 attacks at 13 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. So even though 19 years have passed, you know, I'm not going to let anybody tell me that I didn't see what I thought I saw or I didn't hear what I I heard, even though I was 13 at the time. It's burned into my brain. But even that clip that you started out with, I think that's more than enough for, we could talk about that for hours. You know, just that simple fact. Everybody remembers that story that they told about finding the magic passport, right? In the Kennedy assassination, we had a similar historical parallel, the so-called magic bullet. Well, on 9/11, imagine the plane goes through the building, it crashes out the other side, it explodes, the buildings come crashing down, but the key evidence was found that day. It called out to the FBI and the NYPD like Thor's hammer. It just magically, it was magnetically attracted to them. In this knee-deep rubble, they find the magic passport, which is made out of paper, but the steel frame buildings collapse. So just that fact alone should, get you to start asking some questions about forensic physical evidence. We're not talking about circumstantial evidence. We're not talking about hypothetical evidence or, all these conspiracy theories, so-called. We're talking about actual, factual evidence.
Okay, so how relevant are the events of 9/11 to like what we are seeing today? We have the COVID-19. We see a lot of uprisings. We see a lot of instability across the country. Do you see that there is some relevancy with what happened 19 years ago and what's happening today?
Absolutely. Tylon and esteemed guests, let me break it down for you. We are now living in, and I don't know if I can curse, but this is an effed up psychological operation. This is a really expensive mind control experiment by the US military, which has now itself become captured by an international global order. In fact, they're so arrogant, they call themselves the New World Order. That's their actual name for their own organization. People call it the Illuminati, they call it this and that, but their favorite name for themselves is the quote unquote New World Order. It goes under many different banners, the New International Economic Order, there's the New Global Order, the variations on the same theme. But if you actually read what these people write, you can see that these people are mythographers, they're myth makers. We are being sold a 21st century myth, and they're so arrogant, again, with their corporate branding, that they actually called it 9/11. They think so little of you that they throw it right in your face. So to answer your question in a nuanced way, not only was 9/11 just like a movie, like everybody keeps saying year after year, but this entire situation is a big effed up movie. It's called the New World Order, and they broke it into 3 parts, just like an opera or a play, right? Drama, theater. We've all taken some form of acting, I hope, or been to a play on Broadway. It has usually 2, but the classics have 3 parts. So let's break it down. It's the Matrix trilogy, except it's not a movie. We're living it in real life. 9/11 in 2001 was the Matrix. 11/9, the pre-selection of Donald Trump on November 9th, 2016, was the Matrix Reloaded. 11/9 is 9/11, but backwards. And now you put them together, we have the Matrix Revolutions, the 3rd installment in the trilogy. 9/11 plus 11.9, numerator, denominator, 20 over 20. Open your eyes, 2020 vision. It's now coming into view that we are living in the third installment of the Matrix trilogy. And it's not a movie. This is real life. We're pawns in these people's great game. So Hollywood was behind it. The military-industrial complex was behind it. And they've turned our entire lives into a sick movie.
Okay. So let's use that. So what do you believe is the end game? Like, okay, we're in 3. What's supposed to happen?
Well, again, let's look at the parallel, right? These people are so arrogant, they hide it in plain view, everything that they're going to do. Just like 9/11, 11/9, the selection of Donald Trump also had predictive programming in the media where they actually prepared us for Donald Trump as president many years ahead of time. Again, they have different variants, they have different simulations, different war games. There was another version of reality in case Hillary Clinton became the president. So they control all the horses in the race. It doesn't matter if you like them or you don't like them. They're all controlled at that level. But to answer your question, yes, the whole COVID-19 situation that we find ourselves in is their end game. This is purely fear-based narrative being sold by the media, by the pharmaceutical industrial complex. And, you know, I was actually talking to the Jersey City Council president, a very strong Black woman called Joyce Waterman. And she agrees with me. COVID-19 is a hoax. The virus was made in a lab, and they're using it to push racial and other kinds of divide and conquer tactics like we've never seen before. And everybody thinks they're a gangster now. They're wearing a mask, so they're acting like they're a Blood or a Crip with a red or a blue bandana covering their faces. And this entire situation has been premeditated and orchestrated, and we'd better wake up. I ain't taking no COVID vaccine.
Me either.
Okay. All right, I want to open it up to our panelists. We have some wonderful panelists on this call, you know, including Jalen Walker, Lakota Leon. We have Empress Z, she's here. We have Black, Peter Diaz, and Lulu. I'm going to open the mics for questions, comments to Glenn. And we're going to do that as soon as we come back from a 1-minute break. So everybody.
Like a real show.
We'll be right back in 1 minute. Sit back and enjoy this content.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, business, talent, and/or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 646-415-0990 or go to www.goproradio.com. That's www.goproradio.com. You'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
And whenever I want to listen to something profound and I'm having a moment, I go to GoPro Radio, the fastest growing network in the galaxy.
Welcome, Earthlings, to another exciting episode of the GoPro Radio Revolutionary Party with your host, Tyron. with his co-host, Jolene, and very special co-host, Lakota. With music provided by the Paradise Brothers. Special game show host, Lulu. Get up, dance, party, or sit back and relax to the GoPro Radio Revolutionary Party filled with fun, laughs, games, and you. Yes, yes, yes. Don't worship me. You can sit down now. Yes, you can relax. It's okay.
Hello, testing. Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
So, there were no visuals. We just saw you eating.
What were you eating?
Really?
Yes, and I was busy talking about you.
And well, let me tell you, it was delicious. I needed a little something. I needed something sweet, a little sugar boost, a little sugar rush, just to get things going. I want to thank you, Glenn Z, for being on this wonderful program here. And also I want to thank Jolene Walker, my co-host, and Lakota Leon for being here, and Empress Z and everybody else who was in their house, was part of my panelists. These are some really smart people, Glenn, and I'm quite sure you're going to hear some really smart questions. So I'm going to open the floor up, you guys. You have the man right here, Glenn Z. Fire away.
So this is my question. Number one, I'm glad you're on here. And number two is I often question in my head what you just said. I just don't say it out loud. The thing is this for me. If I decide to talk to people about this, how do you explain the amount of people that they purport? Because you know they're talking heads that say now it's 190,000 people who died. How do you talk to people about that?
Okay, so that's
You're talking about COVID, right?
COVID, yes.
That's a loaded question, but I know exactly where you're going. So I just recently found out that out of that so-called 180,000 number that we keep seeing, keeps going up, day to day. They're trying to keep hyping it up. Only around 8,000 out of that 180,000 have been actually confirmed from coronavirus 19. The rest are presupposed to have come from related flu-like symptoms, but not confirmed to be COVID-19. So therefore, you can't even trust the 180,000 number. It's all a giant fraud. And my mom is in medicine. She said this whole thing should have been over 6 months ago. In March, April, May at the very latest, they should have ended the lockdown. You can't trust Johns Hopkins University with the 180,000 number because Johns Hopkins University is running the COVID-19 operation. Okay, they had a war game scenario called Event 201, which again, Johns Hopkins is just a subsidiary of Rockefeller University. Again, they have layers upon layers. So the Rockefellers also had another war game. We'll get to that in a second. But it was called Event 201 at the Johns Hopkins University, where they actually ran a simulation of COVID-19, what would happen if there would be a global outbreak and how the media specifically would handle the whole situation, to control the flow of information. So you could even go on their YouTube channel and look up Event 201, and all the videos are posted of them giggling in the news, and we're going to use this to lock everybody down, and we're going to divide everybody and make sure they only get the information from the approved sources. Okay. They're so arrogant. And then the Rockefeller document is entitled Rockefeller Operation Lockstep. If you look up Rockefeller Lockstep, you will find a PDF file of what's exactly going on, written 10 plus years ago. In 2010, it's dated, and you can see it word for word exactly what's happening in 2020 with this whole COVID-19 lockdown situation. Also, let me add, before other people jump in with questions, because I can handle any questions you throw at me. That's all I do. I'm obsessed with this stuff. The whole George Floyd situation has seamlessly been woven in to cause race riots and trigger a civil war in this country, parallel, if not directly interwoven, with the COVID-19 hoax.
Okay.
And there's documentation on that too, but I mean, we can take this in whatever direction. I have the filmmaker who made the 9/11 movie here, so I'd like to give him and that subject some airtime, but anything you want to ask me, ask away.
Okay.
I'm gonna let somebody else, because I could be talking to you all night long. So I'm gonna give somebody else a chance, and then if y'all don't, I'm gonna talk.
Okay.
Jump right in, anybody. Happy 9/11, everybody. I hope you had a good Friday.
So my question is, considering that a huge majority of people in this country have become accustomed to being, I guess you could say cognitive dissonance is just something that we deal with profoundly. You know, people are so used to being spoon-fed information, and anything that opposes their way of life is like automatic rejection. So my question is how do we, because ultimately the people who are woke, I really don't like that word, but the people who are woke to these types of things, our issue is going to be American people who refuse to face these facts, who refuse to face the ugly side of our government. They're going to be the ones who kind of drag us down and force us into these situations.
I agree.
We're going to have to get vaccines.
I agree.
Because they won't listen to reason. So my question is how do we, for those of us who are woke, quote unquote, how do we deal with American people who are seriously suffering from cognitive dissonance, Stockholm syndrome? They truly want to believe that their government cares about them.
You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? 2-word answer. You don't. It's time to dissociate yourself from certain toxic and negative individuals and organizations. And that's what Trump is trying to show everybody right now, how the whole system is a rigged joke. Trump is not a bad man at heart, I believe. He's not completely evil. Not all of them are. But the point is, it's not up to the president or the federal government or the governor or your mayor to do something about this situation. You have to end the lockdown. And just like you said, it's your friends and family that are the problem. Certain people just can't be reached. You got to move on. You got to pick your battles. We're all going to be dead soon in 20, 30 years. We got to expose the whole situation right now. So, I mean, I don't know what we do. You got to move on. You can't waste your time with certain individuals. That's one thing I've learned in this long 20-year struggle, almost 20 years since my life was turned upside down by the events of 9/11. And then you realize that that was just one of their little operations. They flipped it on 11/9, and now things are going in the opposite direction, but they control it all. They control the economy. They can make it go up or down. If they wanted to, we could all be millionaires tomorrow, but they want to keep us at that, subsistence level. And so that's what's going on under Trump right now. He's revealing to you that if they really wanted to, they could turn the economy on whenever they want. They can print endless money. You know what I'm saying? But this whole situation has been purposely dragged out by the Democrats because they don't like Trump. So they want to sabotage not just the economy, anything to get Trump out of office. They're willing to actually kill this country, and with the fake corona lockdown. So I don't know. Some people have just completely lost their minds, and I don't have time, frankly, to deal with them anymore. I have to make sure that my family doesn't get burglarized. I have to make sure my elderly parents aren't killed, and I have to make sure that I have money in my bank account so I can live another day. I mean, what do you want me to say?
So, I mean, presuming that you become successful with reaching people with this information, with these facts. And I know that we all kind of know that people who sort of go this route of truth telling, they always end up, dead, drug overdose, or, car wreck, or some other crazy way of death. How do you intend on basically covering yourself so that you can push this information out without worrying about retaliation? Do you have any sort of personal defense for yourself? Maybe small sort of protection, because it's important when you go this route and you're ready to take on these huge
I hear you. Look,
shadow
they've been
governments.
spying on me for at least 15, 16 years. I haven't changed my phone number in that time. You have to just not care. You know where it begins? It begins with not giving a f***. It begins with not caring about what happens to your physical person. Sometimes you got to lay your life down on the line. I'm sorry. I mean, I never wanted to be a martyr. And if they kill me, it just makes me a martyr. So I never wanted to learn about any of this stuff. My life was a lot happier before I found out about the deep, dark world of military intelligence and how they run the whole world and how it's all a big mind game to them. It's a sick mind game. We're living in a Truman Show. They're spying on you 24/7. I don't know what to do. They know exactly what type of pornography you just touched yourself to. They know exactly what purchase you just made an hour ago at the falafel station when you bought yourself a chicken sandwich. They know everything, okay? I don't know. You just can't be afraid. You can't live in fear, and you got to be defiant, and you got to grab yourself by the pussy, Okay, see if you still have any balls left, and then go out there and give them a hard time, because they've been ruining our entire life, and it's their pleasure to push down on the individual, because they don't care if you're black or white or old or young. All they care about is raw power, and that's got to come
That being
to an
said,
end. We got to
we
take
can
the power
assume
back.
that we can assume that their end game would be complete and total control and complete subjugation of people, period. Regardless of creed or code or race or sex, their end game is to have a control, and that would mean really, I mean, because we already live in kind of a big brother state, but to really push it and really turn us into this sort of dystopian, everything you buy is tracked, everywhere you go is tracked. We might not be actually getting a chip put in, but we have chips, right? So if their end goal is to control us technologically and move us into an age of complete technological integration, in order to fight that, wouldn't our sort of guerrilla warfare being going analog, pulling our money out of banks, investing in precious metals like golds and silvers? I mean,
look,
the theories and all of that is one thing, but there actually has to
answer your question from before. Be practical, right? If you want to get a gun, learn how to use a firearm, take some hand-to-hand combat training for sure. Every woman should know how to fight, whether you're afraid of a man raping you or otherwise. I mean, it's just good common sense to know how to fire a gun, to know how to wield a knife, to know how to defend yourself hand-to-hand without a weapon. I mean, yeah, it's just common sense. So my advice, honestly, it doesn't have to, everyone thinks it has to be like overnight, or it has to be like exactly on this date. We all just take the mask off and magically, the lockdown is, it doesn't work that way. So just do little things in your life individually, 1% each day. It makes a big difference. This is why these billionaires are billionaires, because they play the long game. So you got to just be patient, practice self-love, take care of yourself, get your hair did, get your nails done, go to the spa, pamper yourself a little bit. But you have to realize we're not dealing with nice people. These are evil people, and they really have it out for us. They hate you and your family, and they have billions and trillions of dollars, and they ain't stopping their plan anytime soon. So you better, stand up and speak out, even if it costs you your life, because what other choice do we have?
Right. And speaking of choices, we have an election coming up, and it's really interesting. The so-called choices that we have is really like no choice.
There's no choice. One choice.
It's to me, it's no choice. And you talk about voter suppression. The suppression starts, I think, at the choices. When you don't see any of your interests or anything, or anybody that anybody you want that is vocal on your issues and your concerns. What do you see in terms of, because we're talking a lot about end games for the oppressed to consolidate more power and to be in control and having more and more and more control. At the point that people are waking up, and I absolutely believe that people are going to wake up. I mean, you can fool some of the people. I can't feel all the people all the time. It's going to get to a critical mass. Where do you see that critical point? When do you see that critical point happening?
I think we're past
people who are up and people who are aware versus the people who are in complete control. And what do you see that looking like? Because the hand-to-hand combat is cool, but when you have like drones and you have the kind of technology that the enemy has, do we take those same tools that they have? Is it going to be more of a technological battle between the people who want more for themselves and less for you?
It's all about the technology, like you said. I mean, it's mainly an economic war. We've already surpassed them in the ideological war. I think ideologically, everybody on this chat here, we're pretty much on the same page. We just vary in small degrees about how we're actually going to go forward with our so-called resistance. I mean, this is the real resistance. Okay, you could say F the cops and F Trump. You're aiming way too low. That's really low down on the totem pole. So we need some better, higher IQ. We need better emotional intelligence. And we need to really do practical things within our own lives first before we can start preaching politics to the exterior world. I mean, I think that goes back to what Empress Z was saying earlier about, how can we reach our friends and family? I mean, maybe it's best not to bark up certain trees. Maybe it's best to just leave certain things alone and find more productive avenues. So, I mean, I've been an activist. I'm trying to run for office now. I never thought I'd be running for mayor of Jersey City. I'm going to become a downtown councilman first. So I'm going through my own learning process. I'm a student as much as I am a teacher, but we need to just do something. I mean, the end game here, I think we're past the tipping point. I think COVID-19 did a lot of good as well as a lot of harm. I think it brought a lot of people together because unfortunately it takes a crisis to bring people together. And Americans are very slow to hostility. So until the very last minute, they'll wait and then they'll finally react. And I think we're already past that point. People are sick of the masks. They're sick of the lockdown. People just want to get back to normal. But we can't until we admit that these billionaire and trillionaire class are the ones that are running the show. And basically the situation is this. It's not just the 1%. Okay, we got to get out of this leftist mentality. It's the 99 versus the 1. No, though it's the 0.00001%, 1/100th of 1%. So basically we're caught in between the billionaires like George Soros funding the Black Lives Matter, funding all the riots, funding all the racial division. And on the bottom, 50% of society, we have a bunch of street thugs and hoodlums, Bloods, Crips, gangsters, Latin kings, white people are also in gangs. You know, I'm not saying it's all black people, but we have a serious problem where we're caught between the bottom feeders of society and these billionaire insane people. And we're just regular middle-class folk trying to raise our families and you know, just have a job and have a car and maybe a small house or something. You know, like we got to look at it from that perspective. We can't just be blaming it all on the top or the bottom. We're caught in a vice grip.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if we can also, I want to invite the filmmaker there. You said he's there. If he can squeeze in on
9/11,
you guys can get together, he can introduce himself and tell us a little bit about the creating the film and what some of the responses have been to him, you know, and has he been able to effectively get this film out to people?
Okay, so I'm going to definitely transition to my friend. He can speak better about it than I can, but we had a wonderful day today, Friday, September 11th, 2020. We did a little waterfront memorial tour where we went to Bayonne. We also went to Exchange Place, and we actually saw the real memorials here on the New Jersey side. And it was a very emotional experience. We actually ran into people who lived through the event and who told us history that they went through about how they were first responders, eyewitnesses, survivors. And it was just an absolutely humanizing experience because we, you know, like you were saying earlier, we see this on the TV screen, we see it on the internet, but it's a completely different feeling when you get offline and you actually have that real human experience. So I'm going to introduce my friend, Mr. Chris DiMartini, who put together this film called 9/11 Questions. We played an excerpt of some of his work with the passport clip that you introduced us with. Right. But he can actually talk about the film and some of our experiences today. So with that, I give you my friend Chris from South Jersey.
All right.
Hey guys. I'd like to start off by saying...
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. Thank you so much for doing the film. The film, you know, I'm a filmmaker myself, so I understand what goes into, you know, the creative process. But beyond the creative process, you know, and your obvious motivation, what are some of your challenges in getting it out to people?
That's the biggest challenge right now. I just uploaded it a few weeks ago, and hey, it's got over 2,000 views just today. And, so it's just getting started. So that's the biggest challenge. I don't have a solution there. I'm just getting started at that point. One point I'd like to make is that I've been around the country, and most people are good people. If you focus on the media, whether it's the TV media or InfoWars, you're gonna think that there's rioters everywhere, there's all these bad people. But in reality, most people are not that bad. They've been misguided. Most people have been misguided. And it's really a tiny, tiny, tiny group of people that are trying to control everything. It's not about money. When it comes to power, what's power? Power is about control. So that's beyond money and power. It's about control. And that's what these tiny, tiny, tiny group of people. So when you talk about like, what can we do? We're like talking about like little ants that people don't know exist, but they control everything. Like these people, we are the many, they are the few. We have the power in numbers alone. All we gotta do is realize it, and they use divide and conquer to keep us all fighting with each other, Republican, Democrat, yada, yada, yada. And people don't realize it, they buy into it, and because it's their ideology, they've basically bought into it and see it as themselves. You know,
And so, can you tell everybody where they could see this video and the film? You made it absolutely free for folks, so the information is out there, which is great. I wouldn't recommend it. I say, it costs a lot to kind of, freedom isn't free, and I hope on that page you ask people for some donations and contributions, because like I said, I know what it's like to make documentary films, and I want you to continue to be making films, like this. And that's going to lead to my next question. Do you plan to do a film in and around this, the COVID hoax?
Hey, eventually. It took all these years to make one about 9/11. It's going to be many years to really have a clear picture of what happened, what's going on right now. I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. It's just the beginning. In terms of where you can find my video, my channel is very censored. It's very, very difficult to find. I could give you guys a direct URL somehow, but if you type in youtube.com/apocalypse and then the number 1, you'll find my channel, and it will be it's called 9/11 Questions 2020 video. And it starts off with an important point that most people do not know about, and the fact that the Truth Movement was actually founded by the victims' family members, because the White House and the government was refusing to investigate. They didn't want to investigate. They just wanted the war on terror. That was their focus. So it took the victims' family members to actually pressure the government into doing this investigation. And they didn't even start the investigation until about 400 days after the attack. Over a year it took them to start the commission report. And then as soon as that started, they elected Henry Kissinger, if you know who he is, to lead the investigation. Like this guy, the Vietnam War, I mean, you look into him yourself. And unfortunately, the conflict interests were just so huge that they basically forced him to step down. They appointed other people with conflicts of interest, and they said that they were set up to fail. They said that the government made it as hard as possible for them to get the documents they needed to investigate. They didn't have enough money, enough time. It goes on and on. Even the commissioners are saying that they were set up. One of them even resigned, citing that it was a scandal, a national scandal, and a cover-up. So how most people don't know that.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. You had a question?
I was going to say something real quick. It's more of a comment.
Okay.
But I'm a little bit older, so I've been around, and so I'm seeing history repeat itself. So the biggest thing that I wanted to, and I noticed things. So when I keep watching this video of when a man, this is 9/11, a man went to tell Bush, who was the president then, in the classroom, I guess with children. Honestly, when I looked at him, he almost looked like he knew this was going to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Can you hear me?
You know what? Just not even an hour ago, I pulled this up. I'm going to try to show you this.
Every time I see it, I'm more and more convinced that they knew, maybe not the moment, that it was going to happen.
A precursor.
Let me just show you guys something real quick I just found out. So this is George W. Bush's official Facebook page. You click on his profile picture right here, and you'll see his picture, and you want to see when it was uploaded on September 11, 2016. Look at his face. He's smiling and laughing. That's when he posted the picture, his profile picture right now.
Wow.
Would you post a picture today if you're, that involved with you laughing and like smiling?
On September 11th?
No.
On September 11th, he posted a picture of himself smiling, laughing. This is
Yeah, but every time that thing, it haunts me every time I see him. I'm sorry to talk over you.
I was going to say, this is super close. If you could, because I tried to look up Apocalypse One on YouTube and I couldn't find it. We do have a chat. If you could type it into the chat or paste it into the chat.
Okay.
And it'll go straight into the chat where everyone can see it.
Wow. Well, we're at the 9:50 mark. Time really went fast. I guess everybody understand my strategy of having the games early so that, we can have this conversation. We really needed the whole 2 hours to kind of go in depth with this, because I really want to talk about the connections. And if you could, or Glenn can, if you guys want to, he wants to come back on, tell us, if you can, what you suppose will happen come election time and beyond. I sense, I'm just going to put this out there, that, they're going to create so much division that regardless of who wins, that will be the official kickoff.
It's going to be Trump.
Yeah.
Because I think if Trump so-called wins, The country is so divided that people who really resent his politics are going to, rise up. And then if he loses, the people who identify with his politics are going to feel like they have to rise up. And they're already setting the groundwork with the whole mail business, people not able to mail in their ballots and all that. So that's already resentment, and people feel like the democracy has failed us. And so now we have to have, we have to go have an all-out war. And of course, war means, big profit. I mean, some people look at the system as failing and not working, but I think it's working just fine for the people on top. You look at the billions of dollars that's being made right now, and who's making the billions of dollars even during the pandemic. You still see that, conflict and war and misery is big business.
That's right. I mean,
And I'm
my prediction. I could only, your guess is as good as mine.
And for me, I'm thinking that, and here I always have these little things going on, but with them realizing that we know that the prison industrial complex, that's falling down now. We know now what's behind all this stuff. So they need to find another way, because that was free labor still. They need to find another way now to shift everything, that we don't know what's going on, but they still need bodies to do work. So they need some gone, and even for the announcement to be making, to say that, with this COVID, it's not going to affect children. So right off the bat, as a mom of children who knows it's going to affect everybody. If it's going to affect old people, it's going to affect everyone. You know what I mean? So I kind of think like that already. And I've been talking to my Talon is my brother about survival, and how we have to have things together. I grow my own food, and we have to think about what happens if we cannot communicate with each other, and we have to walk. I mean, all of a sudden we don't have cars or transportation. So can you speak to maybe the fact that some of these things may be happening, coming up for us?
Yeah, I mean, interesting, this COVID thing has made us scared of other humans, right? And what's happening now is technology.
Like to say that again?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. COVID has made people scared of each other. Like, you don't want a human touching your food, for example, so you would rather have a robot now make your food. And that technology is actually becoming cheaper than hiring a human and paying them the minimum wage. So all these big corporations are going to start replacing human workers with robots, which will in turn collapse the economy. Like we see driverless cars happening right now. It goes on and on and on. So that's going to completely change the world, and it's all going to happen within the next decade, basically. The entire economy is going to collapse because of it, because if people don't have jobs, the most common jobs are very, very basic, like cashier and things like that. And driving is one of the most popular jobs in most states. So if these jobs go away, which they will, because it will become less profitable to hire a human rather than use a computer, how cheap computers are these days, it's gonna, and if people don't have jobs, this whole system is gonna come to an end. So what they're doing right now is using Donald Trump as the capitalist fall guy. He was put in here on purpose to be the fall guy, to be the guy that we blame. Oh, it was his fault, this his fault for that. Because I have a feeling he's gonna win again, and they're just gonna use him as the fall guy. And that was the plan.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, it's 9:53 right now. We're like 2 minutes past the end mark for the conversation, because this is so important. And will you be willing to come on back on our show and talk a little bit more to us, not only about your film, but a lot of your ideas, and even what was the impetus for you even doing this film? I like to, because you seem like a young guy who was probably 5 when this happened. I don't know, or even born. I don't know. And so what moved you into this? I call this the awakening. I think a lot of people are really waking up. I mean, you have to be up under a rock not to at least hear or know something. And I think we're just, inundated with a bunch of distractions. And so having you on this show, this is part of the struggle. I'm going to be involved with Glenn's campaign. And so, the word is going to get out, and I'm so glad to see, you part of that process, and you part of this struggle, or what I call this new awakening that is taking place rapidly. I think they have their tools, but we have ours too, and this program is one of those tools. So, I definitely welcome you back, and let me say goodbye to Glenn. I want to, thank him for being on the show, on the program. I can't wait until, he runs for office, and I can't wait to see what happens. And Glenn, I want to have you back on the show, and let's set that up really soon. And thank you so much for being here. Keep up the good work, and we are comrades in this. All right.
Yeah, real quick, is there anything that we can do? Say, like, I live in Connecticut. Is there any? I know I'm becoming more aware, but is there anything we can do to help with his campaign?
His campaign or the 9/11 truth in general? Which one?
No.
Well, I think they're one of the same. I think you can't not be, around Glenn and not understand that he's connected to this, the whole 9/11, as well as just making people aware of, what's going on. Full disclosure, Glenn started his show at GoPro Radio some years ago, back in 2014 and 15. His radio career started with GoPro Radio. So, I've always provided a space for his voice, and always made sure that, people were able to, connect to what Glenn is doing and what Glenn is saying, because it resonates with so many folks. The truth has that power, and I think that's where we have to go on that. You can just tell when something sounds, proper and correct, so we just have to keep on keeping on, so to speak, as my mentor Melvin Van Peebles would say. You got to keep on keeping on. All right. So I want to thank you once again for being here, and hopefully we will see you soon, and stay in contact with us, and we'll get you right back on this show, and we'll show a little bit more of the film, if that's okay.
It's in the chat right now, the link.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Good. So let me get some music, my music going here. Yeah, and show me some love, because now is the time for people to do little contributions if you can. Freedom's not free. What we want to do is we want to keep these things going. We want to keep the shows going. We want to keep on bringing powerful guests. You're very welcome, Glenn. We want to keep on bringing guests like Glenn onto the show, and we want to always share this information. So